consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission: to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
Okay, hello everyone out there in podcast land. This is Tim C. Starr, your host for The Universe Between Your Ears. I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Mr. Gabby Masheyev.
Hello, Captain. I think that we have a very special show, and I know you guys are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
To everyone. Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce our guests, and we're going to jump in. Our guest tonight is a young man by the name of Ty Cutner. Ty was working as a bus driver. It's a job that he hated. And he was a new father approaching the age of 30, feeling like he was just floating through life, until he was devastated by an event that forced him to take a hard look at himself. He made a change to his daily attire, and amazing things began to happen. He started helping friends dress well, and they began having similar experiences. Now he teaches men how to create an image that helps them achieve the psychological and social benefits of a sharp appearance. Tyron, thanks for joining us. Good to have you here after all getting our technical issues straightened out. So, welcome, sir.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. As your audience can see, I'm sitting in my vehicle because we had some technical difficulties earlier today, but we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, you're not the first one to record from their car, so don't worry about it. So, so this is a really kind of a fun topic. We have a friend who's been on the show who she wrote a book called Simply Feminine, and her perspective on what she's writing about is men's perspective on what makes women feminine. And so she helps women who are actually feminine at the core to dress in a more feminine way than they might be doing, especially if they're like in the corporate world or something. But what you're doing is actually more universal. You just happen to be working with men, but you're basically talking about self-image and how it impacts how we think, right? And how we interact with the rest of the world, or how the world interacts with us. So tell your story, man, because you're doing a better job of it than I would. So bring us up to speed.
Sure. Yeah, so, it all happened, like you said in my intro. A few years ago, I was in a rough place. I was a bus driver. I hated the job. I was a new father. I was approaching 30. I just felt like I wasn't really living the life that I was supposed to be living, especially going into 30. You start looking at your life in a different way. And I really didn't want to go into my 30s looking the way I looked. I just looked like I had jeans, sneakers, almost like I was just out of college or something like that. And I didn't want to, but for a long time I wasn't making any moves to change anything. And then the devastating thing that happened for me was I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me. And when that happened, I had to take a very hard look and say, how did I allow myself to get to this point? And I really I had to work on myself. So I started to improve how I dress by just wearing the professional clothes I already had in my wardrobe. I just started wearing them when it wasn't necessary. And then that's when everything started to change for me. I started to look at myself in a different way. And I look at myself as a more important person. And because I was more sharp, people looked at me different. They noticed me more. So I had to start to pick up in other areas. And that's what I started to do. I stopped going to the bus driving job because it didn't fit the new image that I was seeing in the mirror. And I started taking responsibility for other things in my life. And before you knew it, I was a COO of a nonprofit organization. I started helping my friends, and I started realizing it's not the clothes, but it's something that happens to a man when he sees himself as sharper. He starts to go after things in a more vigorating way. And and these guys, my friends, where else would they have gone to learn these little skills I taught them?
Right.
Not just about clothes, but just how to present yourself properly. There's no store to go to learn that. And so that's when I slowly started to help other people, help other clients and things like that. And that's when I, introduced my business. And that's what I do now, helping guys in that way.
Right, so I want to ask something that I don't know how obvious it is to anybody else, but for me, the question that I had to know about when we spoke on the phone a couple of weeks back was, how did you land on this being your answer? Right, because there's 100 other different things you could have said. Well, you know, I need to change my attitude. I need to work on my perspective on life. I need to start doing volunteer work. I need to do something, anything else. How did you land on, I got to upgrade?
Have more sex, maybe.
Yeah, that would. Well, that comes with the better clothes. But
I mean,
how did you land on?
you're meeting this team, but I think that should have been the first question.
Well, there's our first detour.
Well, that was definitely a goal. The goal is always to have more sex, isn't it? Everything we do, I think that's part of our goals.
And now women understood this, and now you're in trouble. They know. So
Okay, we're gonna come back to this because of what I know already about your friend with the nonprofit and
right.
how you were helping him. But I first want to finish this question because it's kind of important. I think is because I agree with you. It's, you know, how self-image is hugely important for all of us, and how you get to a good, strong, powerful self-image can be different. But so I'm just curious on how you landed on clothes being the thing.
Well, I had a list of things. You know, as a driver, I had a lot of time to think. And I wasn't happy about the way things were going before that devastating thing happened to me. But I wasn't really taking charge of it. I wasn't making those changes. So, you know, improving my social circle was one of those things. Improving just my finances. I had a little list of things. Dressing well was one of them. But that was the thing that I had immediate control over.
Gotcha.
It was one of those things I didn't really necessarily need more money to do. I already kind of had the clothes. You know, it was just basically, okay, I'm going to wear these clothes when they're not necessary. I want to dress like how I think a man dresses, you know. And one day I was watching The Godfather, and I was looking at the characters, and I thought, man, all of these guys in the movie, they all dress professional at all times. No one is wearing superhero T-shirts. No one is wearing sneakers. You know, I know it's a different era, but even in that stage, you know, certain characters dress more sharper than others. So if you familiar with the movie, the character Mo Green, who was in Vegas, he had more flashy suit. You know, he had more flamboyant, bright colored shirts in his. But Michael Corleone, he was more classically dressed. He had a darker suit. Even his demeanor was more conservative, and you could see he had this power that the other characters didn't have. So I was like, man, that's what I want to do. And so when I started to wear these clothes, and I started getting this instant gratification. The second I went out the door, higher quality women were looking at me. The second I went out the door, I felt sharp. I was getting compliments. When I would go to the store, I would get people would treat me a different way. So I was like, wow, there's something to this. So it was instant gratification. I just kept doing it. And I kept getting better and learning. And then I wanted to learn more and more. And I seen how powerful it was. So I just kept going until eventually all these other things started to happen for me.
Oh, makes sense to me.
And
first off, you work with what you got. If you don't have,
yeah,
right.
How old were you when you watched Godfather? Just curious.
Well, the first time I probably was in my mid-20s. The first time, but you know, it's a classic movie. It's one of those things that you love it. I love all all the gangster movies, the Goodfellas. You know, all those movies, Scarface. Godfather is the best one just because you get to see Al Pacino and De Niro at a young age, you know.
Yeah, that was some of the best
so
footage.
That's why I liked it. Yeah, that's what I like about it.
Yeah. In that movie, right, you were saying how they used clothes, right, to convey the person's character, right, and personality. And it was such a talented decisions. Look at the Michael's brother who betrayed, right? That guy who's like they couldn't,
Fredo?
Yeah, could not apply himself anywhere. I don't know. If you watch how he dresses, it was totally like aligned, right, with what they're trying to say there. Yeah. You know, I was surprised how much influence that movie made on people here in the U.S. We watched very few movies in. I'm from former Soviet Union, but that one that came. I mean, so it was pirated, right? It was a pirate copy, and we watched it on VCRs, and nobody had VCRs. Only special 1%ers had VCRs. And so if you happen to be their friend or relative, you come to their house and they would have like a movie night, right? And we would watch these pirated copies, right? And I was like, oh my God, that movie is interesting. And they translated it very well too. Anyways, but I'll tell you, just before this episode started, right? Tyron showed up on the screen and he's taking his hat off. Right? He's telling the story. Like, put that hat back on. and I just thought, this is like so Godfather-like, right? And you're like, oh, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. The law of attraction here, you see.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
You know?
All right, so let's finish the thought that we had a minute ago on you, this friend of yours. Did he approach you? Do I remember the story right, about to help him upgrade his persona?
Yeah.
How did that work?
So he was in the middle of my transformation, I started to realize that it was more than clothes. How people see me was important and everything else. And I had a conversation with him, and he had dreadlocks, right? And he recently cut them. So I asked him one day, we was on the phone. I asked him, how do you feel? Do people treat you differently now that you don't have dreadlocks? And he said, yes, people are more welcoming. And I told him it's because people's perception of what dreadlocks is different for everyone. For some people, they may think of Bob Marley, or they may think of Rastafari, and they may think of marijuana. They don't really, they don't have a connection to it. So when you cut it, you look more universally approachable. And he's in a place where he's around, more well-to-do people. He goes to these meetings and stuff like that. So I started to teach him that about their parents. We was on the phone for like an hour. It went in one ear and out the other, that first conversation, right? But then he invited me to a little event he was having, and he had, like drinks and like a little party type environment. And I came, and there was some women that were there, and they were whispering to him, "Who's that? Who's this guy?" Speaking about me, because of the way I was dressed. And then after that night, he was like, "Ty, I'm going to be in your class tomorrow. I need to learn how to do this." He wanted the response that women would give to me. So then I started to teach him little by little. I teach them about, here's how your pants should look. Here, your shoes should look like this. This is too big. That's a better quality thing. This and that. And slowly I taught him. And when he first time he wore a sharp outfit, he didn't really know what to do with himself. He was like, his ego was out the roof. And then I had to realize, we got to calm down his behavior now. Because he started to get the responses. He didn't know what to do with it. He was just like a kid in a candy store.
Well, you originally said something to me when I first heard this story. You said something to me about, it was along the lines of, the clothes, the look is going to get you like in the front door. You can talk to them, but as soon as you open your mouth, they're going to walk away. And he had to learn that lesson.
Yeah. Oh yeah, your appearance will get you in the door. It'll get you in the door. It'll get you in the lobby. But if you want to be invited to the office, now you have to be able to speak. You have to be congruent with the appearance you have. So that's just the first step of what I teach guys. The first step is getting them sharp in their appearance. But now it's all about, okay, you have to live up to how you look. And that's where the real magic happens after that.
I'm glad you said it that way, because it's a really cool dynamic that happens in our heads somehow, that when you take on a persona, right, you assume, all right, I'm just going to be a good looking, I'm going to be sharp dressed, you start acting differently. You become a different person, even if it's only for the, 6 hours you've got those clothes on. Realistically, there's going to be some hangover to that and it'll just become you, but it really does change the person from within. I just think it's a really phenomenon.
And that's when the transformation happens. So that's the reason why I teach guys how to be sharp every single day. No matter what their lifestyle is, no matter where they work, you be sharp every day, because it starts to bleed into who you are. And it's no longer, I don't dress this way because I want to look nice. It's who I am now at this point. Like I can never go outside and not be sharp, because I see myself as a sharp person. When I have to go out and do stuff where I have to dress down, or let's say I'm helping some friend do some dirty work or something, I don't even feel comfortable in those clothes. I don't feel comfortable in jeans and sneakers anymore because I'm used to being a sharp guy at all times. So that's the reason why I get guys to that level, because once you're at that level, now it's not about performing. It's not about, trying hard. It's just about being yourself, your true self, the best self of yourself. And then now you start to just go after these bigger things because you feel like you're the best. You can walk out and speak to any person because you're at 100 now, as opposed to you walking out feeling 75%. I'll talk to that person tomorrow.
Oh, you're back.
Okay, there you go. Let's say if you see a girl in the coffee shop you want to speak to, but you don't feel your best. Maybe your hair is frizzy or maybe something's off. You're not going to approach that person, and if you do, you're not going to approach at the high level. But if you feel sharp, you know those times where you feel like your jokes just work, right? You're saying things and everything just connects properly. That's how I feel every day. I feel at a higher level than I did before when I was just feeling like an average guy.
So this makes me want to relate the story that I already told you about, but there was a runner, track and field runner here that was super famous, Florence Griffith Joyner. And her nickname was FloJo, and she was in the Olympics in the 70s, I think, 76. And she was just lighting it up, and she designed her own suit, and it had what I remember was one full length leg on one side, the other side was just shorts. And she came out and she had the fingernails out to here, and she had this hair just flying everywhere, jewelry, all of this stuff, and she was tearing it up. And then they asked her, what's with all of the stuff? How come you're not dressing down and all? And she said, because it makes me feel good, and when I feel good, I perform. And that has stuck with me for 40 years or something. And so I think you're right on the money with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. If you think about it, the clothes we wear paint our body. 90% of our body is covered by our clothes that we wear. The only thing that people can see is our hands and our face. So if we paint ourselves in clothes that makes us feel good, or they're connected to a powerful person, and for men, suits and trousers and all that stuff is connected to importance, is connected to professionalism, is connected to these things. So if you paint yourself in those things every day, you start to feel like an important person, and you speak like you're an important person, and people treat you the way you appear, right? They don't really know who you are. They treat you the way you appear because no one wants to treat a person wrong. They don't want to treat the president of something as if they're the janitor of something. Right. So they want to treat the person. So it's very a social connection. There's so many things that it's connected to that is I'm surprised I didn't do it sooner, but once I discovered it, I was like, there's no way I can turn back now.
Yeah. You've expanded your world.
This is, I'm not sure how much of the existing research, especially by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Are you familiar with this guy? I could tell you a little bit about it. But what you're saying, he is actually explaining what you're saying, this phenomena, scientifically, what actually happens, right? And it's fascinating. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, you're using some of the most powerful tools to transform. And let me explain why this is, right? The thing is, he states that the brain does not know the difference between the actual reality or the reality that you imagine. If you actually start believing in that new reality, the brain does not understand the difference. If it actually is now your reality, physical reality, or this is your dream world, right? So when you start changing something, in this case, that's your outfits, right? You're basically now adopting a mindset of success, of being important, as you're putting it, right? And whatever. The brain starts believing in this reality. And that creates a very strong magnetic field. And in combination with the electric field, which is your intent, your desire, this magnetic field attracts all the different experiences, and it must work because that the universal law states. When this happens, the universe starts bringing into your experience things that exactly are aligned with that new reality that you created. And so you basically become literally a new person, right? You transform through that pathway of changing clothes. I mean, it could be anything, but you chose this. Other people do different things. We were talking about in our Abraham Hicks meetup, the Law of Attraction meetup, right? Abraham Hicks always says, if you want to live a certain life, and you right now you can't, for whatever reason, your life situation does not allow you to do it, right? Go and imagine it and live it, if only for a day or 2 or 3, whatever. What you need to create is the vibrations. You need to create the associations and most important thing, to acquire emotions of how it would feel to live that experience. And that creates a powerful rocket of desire, and it goes into the universe and starts, the wheels of the universe in the vortex start turning to get you all the experiences to align with that, right? And here you go. You did it. Now, the question is, at some point, and I'm just taking it to the next level, right? At some point, you will have transformed so much, right? So deeply it will become who you are, that then if you change your clothes back to jeans and shirts or whatever, that person will still be there. And the surprising thing is, I think other people will see it. The vibration will be there. I should believe that. It's something in your eyes or the way the posture, the way you conduct yourself, the way you speak.
Yeah. Well, who you are is who you are.
Will reveal that. If not right away, I know, because people judge by your clothes or whatever, right? Within 5 minutes, they'll know who is the elephant in the room. That's my belief. Don't you think, Tim?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the person that you are. It's like you could, if you're a slug and you don't believe anything is good in the world and you're a victim and blah, 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 and you put on a nice suit, right? It's kind of what Tyron, you were talking about with your friends. It's one thing, you'll get a certain distance with people, but at some point the inner person is going to show up. And so it's to what you were saying, Gabi, the other direction will work also. If you are you are a bigger, better person, and you put on some crappy clothes for whatever reason, that inner person is still that bigger, better person that will show out.
I got into many meetings where I was still young and inexperienced, and I judged people by the way they dressed, and just even by height and physicality, or whatever, only to find out that I was talking to this barman who happened to be a billionaire, and he offered me a drink. He said, "What can I make for you?" And I was like, I was thinking back after I understood who he was. I thought, did I treat him like with this, disregard? Because he was like, a barman serving drinks at the big party. Turns out the billionaire himself was serving drinks at that party, That was way of showing respect to his guests, which was very like egoless way, right? To do it. That was the biggest. And I went home. I was like, all red. I'm thinking, how much you judge? It was something.
I went through every word you said.
Something we can't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sometimes it robotically happens, right? Programs running. Right, programs are running.
I think it always happens. You can't not judge. You can have a second judgment once you come to learn a little more, but if your first exposure to something is visual, you are going to judge based on the appearance. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
If your first exposure to,
and that's what I try to teach.
Yeah. I was just going to say that if
that's what I try to teach my. Okay. Yeah.
We can dance.
Tyron, why can't we teach girls that? You can totally do it. why limit yourself to men?
To men?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that, I've been asked this a lot. A lot of women, when they find out what I do, they ask me if I help women. The thing is, I feel like men are left out in this regard. I think that men,
brother. Thank you.
Yeah, I think men are left out.
You're missing.
And I think that
you're missing out a lot.
No one
for us men, right, man?
Yeah, I think for me, I think that men, the world thinks that men are okay, men are fine, men don't need help in any regard. And I do it not just for clothes. I do it because, remember, I was in a rough place. I know there's a lot of men who are in some type of rough place, but when they're in public, we don't see it. We don't know it. I wasn't going out and boo-hooing and crying or things when I was in public. I was my normal self. No one knew what was happening. So when I speak to guys who are interested in my services or anything else, and I get them on a call and I ask them, what's going on in your life right now? Why do you want to make this change? No one says, because I want to dress better. Everyone says something along the lines of, I don't feel adequate in some place. I don't feel like I'm the best me right now. I don't feel like I'm performing at that level that I can perform at. And so I change the person they see so that they can start to perform at that level. When it comes to women now, and it's a lot easier for men too. Like, to make a guy sharp is pretty simple. We wear the same stuff. Yeah. Like I said, I watched The Godfather. That movie came out in the 60s. It was based in the 40s. So these guys were wearing clothes that I liked now in 2000. So, but for women, they were wearing something completely different. Women fashion changes so fast that it's just a different ballpark.
Yeah.
Women are changing themselves all the time, daily. Right? Every time they get up in the morning and go start putting on makeup,
hairstyles, and
they're transforming themselves completely. I used to have a girlfriend that you almost wouldn't recognize her without her makeup. It's a completely different person.
Yeah.
And I've seen some that you wouldn't recognize.
You know what? One guy I heard sued a woman because they got married. Do you remember that story?
Chinese, yeah.
They got married, and then he woke up in the morning and he said, "Who are you?"
He found out that she had just a ton of plastic surgery done. She looked beautiful, right?
That's a nightmare.
The original pictures when she was younger. Ooh, no. And he was afraid his kids were going to come out looking like that. And
it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They don't come out wearing makeup.
Yeah. So no, I hear you about the guy. So the question about this is: so you meet a guy, right? And I guess obviously you need to have some time with this guy to see what vibration, what plane, if you will, right? He is on, right? So what direction to take, right? To transform him, right? How much of their personality in your view, right, determines what you're gonna select for them, or does it even play any role? Are you trying to tailor it to their sort of general, I'll put it this way, just the personality? I mean, they could be very calm and modest and speak very little, right? Or they could be very loud, type A, whatever, right?
Right.
Did you run into
what
this?
I try to do is, so I have, a lot of guys that I've helped in the past. They, some of them, they may say, I just want to dress better, or I just want to look better. I just want a little bit. But anyone who says that to me, I need to go deeper, right? I need to go deeper into who they are. And I have, a step-by-step process where I put them through. And one of the things I do for them is I have something called Image Builder, right? Which is where I ask them, who do you really want to be? Because who we are now, a lot of us, is who we became. We became this person.
You ask them directly.
Actually, who do you, if you can change, forget about who you are right now. Forget about who you've been. Forget about the possibilities of what you think you can be. Who do you really want to be? What type of person do you really want to be? And take some time and think about that, And I give them certain movies to watch to jog their memory or jog some ideas. And then I say, come back to me and tell me who you really want to be.
Yeah. This is fun.
Yeah. Because you can be. Yeah, of course, because I think we all of us.
Hmm?
Gotta give him an opportunity.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tyron. Go ahead. Just keep talking. He's going to keep interrupting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we
All
interact.
right. So yeah,
You were saying?
I told you had to just jump in.
So the thing is, I want guys to be who they want to be, and I make them think about that, because we just became who we are. And a lot of times guys may say, I don't really want people to look at me. I don't really want to. And I'll find out why. Like, why don't you want to be? Because the thing is, I believe that every person, all of us, have some type of gift, right? Whether it's some story that can inspire someone, whether it's a joke that can make somebody's day, whether it's some skills that we have. But what we present is the packaging, right? And if you go to any kid's store, any grocery store, the packaging is super important. We don't know what's inside. We don't know how it tastes. We don't know how it looks. We always see the packaging. The packaging wins us over. We buy it, then we try it. Same thing with people. Strangers are going to be right. People are going to be attracted to your visual appearance, and if it's rare, if you're exceptionally well dressed, if you're the sharpest man in the room, people are going to want to know, who is this guy? What does he know? What kind of skills he has? And for you should share your stories. You should share your skills. You should inspire people, and we can all do that. But if we're in some box, whether we put that box on ourselves or society did, then we're not connecting to the world. We're not giving those gifts that we have into the world. So it's a deeper meaning. I make guys able to present themselves in a way where now your skills we can see your skills through your visual appearance. We can see that you're a great person socially from your visual appearance. We can see that you're a higher status person from your visual appearance. And now other people are just attracted to you. They want to know who you are, no matter what their success level is. They want to know who you are because they see that you're a person who stands out in our world.
Well,
so I try to inspire guys like that.
Yeah, I think if for no other reason than to not dig yourself a hole, right? Because people, when they first see you, they are going to judge, and if your first impression is poor, you've created a hole for yourself, and you may or may not be the person they need to talk to in their lives. But if they look at you and go, I'm staying away from this guy, there goes your opportunity to do something. But I wanted to say two things really, Ty, is whether you know it or not, you're a life coach, right? And the comment that you were making about who you are today, we are, whatever our situation is, and it is a product of the past. Right? We didn't become who we are today. We became who we are today 10 years ago or whatever, when we made certain decisions and had certain vision. So I think, this is some deep shit. It's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
The reason I was interrupting you, Tyron, is it's fascinating that, so they come to you and you're asking them who you want to be. What do you see yourself as? What's your ideal, right? I mean, there's no better way of understanding where they are, because visually they'll match, right? So, but the thing is that the idea of who they want to be is something which is also fluid, right? It could change over time, right? So, have you found that they started in one way, dressing in one way, and then they went through a certain growth there, and now started presenting themselves differently from what they started with? Do you see that transformation? That would be
well, I mean, even for me, when I first started, the goal wasn't for me to be helping guys. It was just for me to just look better, right? It was for me to see myself as better. And when I look back, I started to change. I started to improve. I started to improve in other ways. And one thing that I realized is that my visual appearance is something that can be improved. I think a lot of guys don't realize we can improve a lot of things, right? You could become funnier. You could become a more humorous person. But we don't think about humor as something that we can really control. We just think that we just have this, we either funny or not, or we're funny around certain people or we're not. When we think about our appearance, we think, okay, this is what I wear every day usually, and when I need to go somewhere important, I put on my suit. But we don't think that can be improved greatly, right? I still improve. I mean, I'm 6-7 years into dressing well every single day, and I'm still improving with every new purchase. I'm improving my fit on every new accessory that I get. I'm still improving. I'm improving how I introduce myself to people, how I speak about my business improves. Every little thing about myself can be improved. Just imagine myself as a bunch of knobs. I can improve this, I can improve that, I can change that, and that gives men power. So what I do is I teach them how to do this for themselves. I teach them how to be sharp. I don't, hey, wear this, and then they wear it, and then they're fine. No, I teach them, hey, listen, here's how your body looks. Here's why you want to wear clothes that fit you. You want to show a masculine frame. You want to show big shoulders. You don't want to have sleeves that are too long because you want to show that you have big hands. That's a masculine feature of a man. You want to think of yourself as a man at all times. Your body language is weak. What are you thinking about yourself? You don't think you're the best. That's why I can see it in your body language. You have to believe that you are powerful. You have to believe that you have gifts. Oh, so I'm teaching them these things, and now they run with it. They run with it. So I have clients who they want to learn everything else. They're pushing me. They're pushing my level of skill because they want to learn more. They see how powerful it is to be a sharp guy, especially because most guys aren't sharp. Most guys don't think about this. Most guys don't think it's important. Most guys think this is who I am and that's who I'm going to be. But I'm showing guys that no, you can be better than you are today.
Yeah, that's really powerful. The whole time you were talking about this, I'm just thinking we do not think about this. We don't put any thought into it, and that connection isn't made, except maybe by accident. But nobody ever says, what does this particular pair of shoes say about me? So I like it.
Yeah. If you look at your pictures from a while back, I know I've been through this. I was moving 3 or 4 times, and I had to pack my photos. And sometimes you just pack the boxes like, oh, look at this album here. You start looking. My God. It's like, what was I thinking? Mm-hmm. How could you wear that? And what I noticed was that in the was it 80s or 90s anyways, none of what I owned was of perfect fit. It was always bigger. It was always, if the shoulders they were bigger, if the pants were like big, too long, sleeves, whatever. And you know what? I had no idea back then.
Well, it was in style then,
It was close to perfect for me, right?
I grew up in the 70s, man. I went through the, platform shoes and Angel Flight jeans. Not they weren't even jeans, they were polyester pants with the big bells on the bottom.
Pictures here in the show.
Oh, man. Thankfully, I don't have any. You can't prove anything I'm saying. But, yeah.
But to one point, I totally agree with you that even if the clothes is not very attractive, right? It's not the latest and greatest whatever in fashion, right? You could really totally make judgment about a person's standing, right? If it just fits perfectly tailored to their body, like highlighting every advantage there in the physicality that there is, right? I was always impressed when I saw, especially European designers, right? Italians are great at that. When I saw some of the shirts that people wear, I was like, wow, that's not made in America.
So that goes to something I want to ask about here, Ty. How much point do you make? Maybe I'll ask it this way to sort of get guys to understand that. If you don't have a bunch of money to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe, go buy 1 or 2 or 3 critical, sort of foundational pieces that are really good quality. because you can build on that, and they're always going to be like, there are certain styles of shoes or clothes or suits that they're always going to be in style. They're never going to be like, oh yeah, that's from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So do you focus much on that with people, or is that an obvious point, or maybe off?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that is one of the things that kind of slow guys down. You know, they think they need to buy a whole new wardrobe. You know, when I started, I didn't have the money to buy a whole wardrobe, you know, so that's why I started with clothes I already owned. And what I did was, those clothes, I used to work on Fifth Avenue. So here in New York City, that's where like the Prada, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, the very high-end stores are. So I had a small collection of high-end designer professional clothes in my wardrobe. When I started to learn how to really do this, I realized those clothes didn't fit perfect. They were, the reason why most guys don't wear clothes, don't look sharp, is because they wear clothes that don't fit them. And the reason why they wear clothes that don't fit them is because they think the clothes that they are wearing does fit them. So they may be one size off, a half a size off. It comes down to the quarter inch, right? So the Italians have it right. They wear clothes that fit them perfectly. When you wear clothes that fit you perfectly, that's when you look sharper visually, no matter what style of clothes you're wearing.
You can't help it, right?
And when I started, and so when and when it comes to men, we talk about clothes from the 70s and 90s. You know, men, we can wear classic clothes. Though there's clothes that never change, right? So we talk about The Godfather. Those clothes never changed. We still wear classic clothes today. No matter where we are in the world, like suits and dress shirts and shoes, universal. I can go to Africa. I can go to Asia. I can go to any country in Europe. I can go to South America and still wear that same suit. I can go to a wedding. I can go to a funeral. I can go to a business meeting. I can go to a date and wear that same suit jacket, those same shoes. So it's worth investing in better quality clothes. They last longer. They make you look better, and you can wear them all the time and every occasion. And it's great to invest in the knowledge, the skill. So I teach guys that dressing is a skill. It's a skill that you can't hide, right? I'm a sharp dresser. I can't hide the fact that I dress sharp. You're going to see it the second you see me. If I knew how to play the piano phenomenally, you would never know unless you put a piano in front of me, right? So I'm impressive in the way that kings and queens are impressed by a person who dressed sharp. All the way down to kids at my son's school are impressed at the fact that I dress sharp. It's completely universal. So it's a skill that every man should have. It would do so much for their lives in so many different ways that I can't even list them all, you know? And that's the reason why I teach guys the skill. Like, this is a life-changing skill for you. It's something so simple because we get dressed every single day. We wear clothes every single day, so we take it for granted. But it's extremely powerful to be a sharp man at all times.
Some of the simple things are the most powerful. And this is an important question I got to ask you. Do you have a theme song? Because I keep hearing ZZ Top in my head. Every girl crazy about a show.
You know how many times? When I first started getting clients, when I first started going after clients, I would get them in Facebook groups, and I would post certain things about, being sharp, or stories that I had, and I would get that. And I never heard of the song before. I never heard of ZZ Top at all. And then somebody sent me that, and it's from the 80s. The videos from the 80s. And now every time somebody posts that, I go listen to the whole song. Every time somebody posts it, I listen to the song all over again. Because it's very true. People, women do go crazy for a sharply dressed man. Women go crazy for it. It's one of those things that I think men know that. I think when I first started out, that was one of the things that I wanted, because I was just in a bad relationship where I felt like my manhood was taken away in some instances. So I wanted to gain some of that back. And when I started to see women, guys were very influenced by how women treat us.
Sure.
I mean, we may not want to admit it, but the way women treat us, the way they show their attraction or their affection for us is really important to us, So being a sharp guy to drive women crazy now, I mean, I don't even really need to speak to women. They come to me, it's just one of these things. Like I said, it goes into so many different areas that is amazing. There's so many things that your sharp appearance can do for your life. It's amazing.
All right, get ready, Gabby, because get used to it. I'm coming. I'm only half joking.
Tyron, you're a little bit on the side. Do you want to switch a little bit the angle there? Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fascinating stuff. How much change you could just trigger from it, right? Without a doubt. I especially like that, and I know because I kind of started doing that. Really own like 2 or 3 really quality things, maybe like even tailored to your physique, right? And that would be much better than having all this garbage, that you could buy anywhere and just can't decide. Yeah, for sure. Now, when you were talking about women seeing this, right? I think the same thing could be said about us guys who see this kind of effort in women as well, right? So I could totally tell. I mean, a lot of women, and I could totally tell when a woman did some magic with her hair, and you're like, or there's perfume there, it's amazing, or just the way they pick the colors that they decided to appear today, right? It totally is very exciting. Now, but the trend for some reason is, and this is kind of interesting because I could not understand that. Coming from the other hemisphere, right, and from the Russian culture, right. What I found here in the U.S. and even in New York, right, a big city, right, that people really go for simple, down to earth, not too much thought going into, okay, how I'm going to present myself, really just for convenience, right? And this is a trend, right? So isn't that a little bit in the opposition of what we are trying to say? Why is this trend in your thoughts? Although I'm not sure, like in New York, like immigrant population still kind of dresses up. I know the Russians do for sure. There's no way we could go to, like a Russian woman will have a full, the whole thing, lipstick and the makeup and whatever, just to go to, Fairway on Broadway and get something, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not so for the
Right.
Americans. What's going on with that, do you think?
Right. Well, I think that we as people try to, a lot of people are just lazy. A lot of people are lazy. A lot of people they try to do things out of convenience. It's easier. So like I just noticed today, I see a lot of women, and I'm like, they're all wearing these tights, right? These jogging pants that are tight.
Yeah.
And they're not jogging. It's just something that they can get away with. So, but you look at a person, right? And you see, let's say if you were looking at women, and you can tell the class level of a female based on how she presents herself. You can see the women who come out. Some women come out with rollers in their hair, but some women, they come out, they're looking very nice, they smelling good. You see how they stand, how they greet people, how soft their voice is, and this woman is different from that woman. The same for men, right? So there's a lot of guys who don't care. There's a lot of guys who think that it's no big deal. That's the reason why those guys get overlooked by women, by opportunity, by law of attraction. They get overlooked because they aren't positioning themselves to attract opportunity, to attract a high quality woman, to attract a high quality business partner or associate or friend, right? Mm-hmm. So, going back to, speaking about how does a guy get started without spending a lot of money, you take the clothes you have now, the classic clothes you have in your wardrobe, and get that stuff altered. Go to a tailor, and it's going to cost you a fraction of replacing it, and getting it altered to fit your body. That's a lot of my trainings start with that. Yeah, a lot of my trainings, my free trainings start with how to make your clothes look better, the clothes you already have, because right then and there, while you wearing clothes that fit you better, you feel better because you can see your body is framed in a certain way, a masculine frame. When we look at women, we like to see hourglass figure, right? That's the reason why women don't put things in their pockets. You notice that? Women always have pocketbooks. They don't put things in their pockets because they will ruin their shape. Their shape is very important, so we have a shape too. It is our shoulders, our hands, biceps, chest, back, big feet. That's our frame. If we put big clothes on or hoodies or stuff that don't have any structure, we take away all the masculine frame that we have, you know, and it affects how we appear.
I think yeah, you're 100% right. I guess I'm adding on is what I think is that people don't. For somebody to want to do this, they have to. It's almost like they have to care about themselves, right? They have to want to feel better. They have to. I don't know. I'll leave that alone. But I had another question for you. If you don't have, well, you want to jump in on that one? Or?
Well, I was gonna say, you know, yes, men are, like, I was lazy before I happened, right? But I realized that men, we grow with challenge. I had to get smacked in the face by some challenge that was bad. Like the bus driving job wasn't enough. The fact that I hated the job, the fact that I was there for a while, that wasn't enough. I wasn't at a lower level where I want to change my life. But when the situation happened in my relationship, that was like a smack in the face. I couldn't live in that life, that reality for too long. I had to make a change to get out of that. And I think that's what a lot of guys, when they come to me, none of them come with something wishy-washy, or I can't really work with them because they don't have the motivation to go through a full transformation. You have to be going through something. And it's something that we keep secret. You know, we know that we're not performing at our best. We know when we get down, and when they speak to me and I open up and I be vulnerable to them and say, hey, listen, this is what I was going through. And they open up to me, then I'm like, okay, we can tackle these things by making you sharp first. And then now you have much more ammo and energy and motivation to get yourself out of whatever situation you're in. And that's how I help guys out in that way.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to ask about is, let's assume you got somebody who doesn't have any classic clothes in their closet, right? They get jeans and t-shirts, and they really have never worn a sport coat. What do you tell them to start with? How do you point them?
Right. So similar to what I did, you know, I started off with a collared shirt, you know, just a regular button-down dress shirt. It can be a casual shirt with some pattern, or it can be a light blue shirt, which can go either way, you know. And then I get them suit trousers. So when I first started out, my wardrobe was dress shirt, suit trousers, and shoes. I couldn't afford. I had a couple of jackets in my wardrobe from a couple of suits I had, but I couldn't afford, like, you know, a nice decent sports coat is going to cost you $300, $350. Like, I didn't have the money to throw away to that, so I would take that same $350 and use it towards getting a few shirts, getting a few trousers, wearing some nice shoes, and that would get me a nice outer jacket, just like a casual, either a quilted jacket or a pea coat or something along those lines that fit very well. And then that was my everyday attire, because my goal is to help guys dress well every day. So I want you to get as much bang for your buck so that you can create a small wardrobe where everything is interchangeable. All the shirts match all the pants, all the shoes match the whole outfit. This way, with 4 shirts, 4 pants, 2 shoes, you have enough outfits for the whole week. And now you can start building from there. Now, slowly you can add the jacket. You can slowly start adding the accessories. You know, you can slowly start improving with every purchase, because especially once you start seeing how this is affecting your life. Yeah. You know, you realize that it's almost like your marketing budget, right? So you may put money towards fixing your website, or make sure you have good business cards, or, you know, make sure your resume is nice. What about what we see? You need to invest in that. You know, don't look at it as just clothes. Look at it as your marketing, your personal marketing. That's what your appearance is. Yep. So take some of that money and use it towards that. And then I'll teach you how to do it in a very, you know, in a way you can do it. You can budget. But once you start gaining those, the responses, I don't have to tell you anything after that. You're like, what's next, Tyler? Tell me where I got to go now. Because you want more after you get started.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I shot all my bullets here, I think. Gabby, what you have more to ask this poor man?
My interest is, you know, you were alluding that the reason why the trend went like this towards simplicity and whatever, because we are lazy, right? And it seems like
in the 70s.
Yeah, it seems like we are buying this idea. It's not our decision. For some reason, there is this energy, momentum, I feel, in our modern society, right? To make us look all the same, right? If you think of it, our uniqueness.
I think it's just as simple as somebody gets lazy and just starts wearing, let's just say, jeans and t-shirts, or if it's.
Well, we were fed advertisement that it was okay. The marketing campaigns are feeding that it is okay to look like everybody else. You know, that it's not important. Be simple. Be whatever. Right?
When has it ever been anything else? It's always been look this way.
Yeah, always controlling, right?
You go back and look at stuff from the 50s.
Yeah.
You look at like a game show. You look at a concert. You look at any public event, sporting events, anything. Look at the audience. The men are all in shirt and tie. Generally, it's probably a black suit.
I think that really helps.
All the same.
Yeah, and on that, in that environment, anybody who puts a little bit of thinking into being original immediately wins, right? And that's another reason, because you see, okay, there's substance, there's more substance there. They're not conformist. You know, they're thinking for themselves. I get that right away from people who really put some thinking into the way they want to look, right? I was like, this person cares about the relationship with the reality here, and how they relate to that reality. They're not like, okay, I'm just going to go with the flow and not even care about this at all, right? And that's one aspect. The second aspect is we are here beings having fun on this amazing earth, creative experience, right? This is like another flavor of life. This cannot be ignored. I mean, this is amazing. This is delicious. And, you know, we want to be practical, but so boring. You know, whatever. So just, I know it's not directed towards you, Tyron, but team asked what my thoughts were on that. So here they are.
I mean, I think that
I don't remember
good thoughts.
His thoughts.
You know, I think that, you know, when it comes to, you know, if you think about an office, right? Let's just say you have an office and you have 50 employees, and you know, if you didn't give them a dress code, but everybody came in with a shirt and tie and everything else, but then one guy dressed down and no one said anything, everyone's going to look at that guy and say, well, I might as well dress down too, right?
Why do I need
Those guys don't see how important. Yeah, why do I need to put on this suit? Why do I need to put on the tie? He's dressed down, and then that's when we start going down. But then there are some of us who realize that my appearance is my responsibility. My appearance is under my control. My appearance affects how I am treated. It's more than just, I'm not dressing this way because I have to. And that's the reason why when I started to put those clothes on, it was different than when I had to go on a meeting or interview and I had to wear those clothes. I wore them because I wanted to. And when you see me and you see I move different, I could be wearing the exact same thing another guy wears. But I wear it because I want to wear it, not because I'm told I must wear it. And that's a huge difference, you know? And I was saying that we kind of went downhill in the 70s. So in the 70s is when the hippie movement, and here in the US, the hippie movement came about, and it was the first time where the younger generation was pushing forward the culture, right? They were no longer looking to their fathers to tell them what to do because they didn't want to be conformists. So dressing in a suit was you were going with the man, right? And you wanted to be your own self. They wanted to be their own people, and they started to push forward. Then from that came the 80s. You have the hip hop came out of the hippie movement, and you have this where we have these new cultures coming about, you know, break dancing and all these things happening here in New York. And then you have now today, I have men who are in their 40s and 50s, and they've been wearing these suits. They're wearing it wrong the whole time. There's certain fundamental things they don't realize because the way we used to dress used to be a part of our culture. It wasn't about the trends. It was about being a man and representing yourself as a important person and representing your family. But now it becomes, I'm representing myself, as in my style and my flair and my culture and my music that I listen to. You can tell a person what kind of music I listen to based on how you dress. I'm a punk rocker, or I'm a skateboarder, or on this. We always express ourselves through our clothes, always. So when you see a person who's dressed down in sweats, he's expressing laziness. He's expressing, that's what I was doing. I was expressing laziness. I was expressing that I'm not going to move myself out of this job I don't like. You know, when I started to dress up and dress better and put more energy into it, I started to express effort. I started to express responsibility. And so if I express that in my clothes, I got to do it in everything else I do. And if you see me and like, I'm looking for somebody. This guy look like he does work. This guy look like he pays attention to detail. Look, he's matching his shoes to his belt. You know, when we get dressed in the morning, we put thought into what we want to wear. Some people don't, you know? So if you see a person who not put any thought into what they wear, if their car is messy or if their house is messy, you're not going to be surprised. You expect that. But if you see a person who's sharp, you're going to expect that person to speak sharp, to treat you sharp. And that's the reason why your impressions are usually on point. First impressions are usually on point because we think about these things when we get dressed. So that's why, you know, Gabby, when you talked about the law of attraction and how all this stuff is connected, it's very much connected because we put effort into the things we want. When we think about it, we start to see it more, right? When you buy a car, you start seeing that car a lot more. The car was always there all the time, but now your mind is tuned into that car. Now you see it. So if you start dressing important, you start getting more opportunities to be important. You know, you start people at your job come to you and ask you the important questions that you may not know now, but we as humans, we don't like not having the answer. We're going to find the answer. Next time they ask us, we have the answer. Next thing you know, we're getting promoted. Right? That's how it happens. That's how your life starts to change.
You guys remember that movie when Will Smith was trying to get hired in, on Wall Street to work some brokerage firm?
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah,
The Pursuit of Happiness, yeah.
And he was barely making it, and his shirt was all, I think there was blood on it or whatever, right? And this guy is saying, remember that question, he's like, so put yourself in my shoes, you know? You have in front of you this guy, you know, with the shirt messed up, whatever, came here for the interview. Why do you think, you know, I should hire, you know, this guy? And remember what Will Smith answered? He said, he must have had good damn trousers or something. He said like that. And then they broke into laughter. That was a sharp out right from this kind of uncomfortable question there.
One of the, as you were talking, Ty, one of the things that you said made me think about this. A lot of the impressions that we have of somebody's physical appearance it's subliminal, right? And something like your shoes matching your belt, we recognize that, but it's not a conscious thing necessarily. You know, at least not the first impression of it. So if you take the time to actually look at somebody's stuff, then you go, oh, well, that doesn't, you know, he got a black shoe and a brown shoe, whatever. But a lot of these things are triggered subconsciously, and all the more reason to not dig that hole for yourself, right? Right.
Yeah. Even guys who, you know, you speak about guys that they don't have the money to buy a wardrobe. Even if they don't have the money to buy anything, you can still understand how to be more polished, right? You can still groom yourself better. You know, you can still make sure that your breath smell, your breath smells good. You can make sure you still sit up straight. You know, you can learn how to be more polished. And you're right. No, most people don't really know the rules of classic menswear, right? They don't know that you shouldn't button both of the buttons on your suit jacket. They don't really know this. But when they see you when you break those rules, they can know there's something off about this. Right. Something, I don't know. They can't even internalize it. They can't verbalize it, but there's something off about it. That's the reason why your appearance, colors matter, right? The way the fact that your shirt is ironed matters. It's not something someone is going to notice right off the bat, but they can feel it on a subconscious level, and it affects the thought pattern of how their impression of you. Yeah. So when I teach guys these things, I'm teaching them a language almost, right? A communication skill, because what people see is our appearance does speak about us. It speaks about who we are. It's communicating to others about who we are. we wanted to always speak highly of us.
Yeah.
We don't ever want our visual, because we are under that control. It's under our control. Our appearance is under our control, right? Where we came from, our race, how our face appears, our height, that's not under our control. But how we dress, how we communicate, that visual appearance is under our control, and it happens in seconds.
Yep.
People see you and automatically, before you even get close enough to talk to them, they've already made some type of appearance or some type of impression about who you are. So why not use that to your advantage?
Yep.
You know?
Yep. So I just because I'm feeling like it has to be done, the hippies came around in the 60s.
Yeah, late 60s. Yeah, late 60s, yeah.
67, the Summer of Love, and then 70s, what you left out was all this, the hard rock and heavy metal. And, I'm feeling like I've been dissed here because that was my music. So just.
Nah, man, I love that stuff. I listen to that stuff these days. I'm not saying that it was anything wrong with it.
No,
I'm just saying that was how things changed.
I'm just giving you some shit. That's it.
Listen, I came in the hip hop era, so we took it and added hop to it, and now you know what I mean. So we made some changes to it too. So and like I said, I was a kid too. I was wearing the baggy jeans, I was wearing the sneakers. Yeah, I wasn't born in the suit, and I remember my high school graduation. I couldn't wait to get out of the shoes and everything else. I put my sneakers on, and but you grow up. You start to see the world in a different place. And now you feel like, as a man, you want to be the one that shapes the world that you're living in for the next generation. As you start having kids and things like that, you want to start shaping the world.
Yeah. So I thought it was dumb, but now I have another question. So, when you said we grow up, implying that we have a new perspective, right? But our perspectives only change because we get new information. Right? Somebody gives us something in a different way, and you think about it and go, that makes sense or whatever. So do you have any insight in your own journey here as to what kind of things kind of made you... Because not everybody does what you did, right? Not everybody says, I don't like where I'm at. Not everybody is even conscious with that far. They don't even make that conscious thought and say, I don't like where I'm at in life. Right? But assuming that they do, very few people still ask, well, why am I here? Why am I in this position? And then what do I do about it? So I'm just kind of curious if you think you have any sort of, if you look back and is there anything in your life you can point at that you think allowed you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was always trying to improve myself. I was always into self-development. I was always into reading books and learning new things because I wanted to use that to apply to myself. And as I was getting older, my 20s, I am a kid. I thought I was a know-it-all. So unless I seen you as a person who was very smart, then I wasn't really paying attention to what you were saying, but I was very impressed I'm very impressed with smart people. I love speaking with smart people. And so if someone came to me and they was telling me things, I would absorb that. They told me, hey, read this book. I would get the book that day. Even now, if somebody mentions a book, I'm on Audible that day, getting that book because I'm always about self-improvement. When I was going into my 30s, I always had this idea that men got better with age, right? I always came with this impression that men can be sharp and distinguished. The word distinguished would come out a lot for me. And that's when I, looking at The Godfather, but also looking at guys like, a George Clooney or Frank Sinatra and these guys. And I was like, these guys are different from all the other guys because when they aged, they almost got better with age. I was like, how can I do that? What is it about them that they're getting better? Because I see guys who are older and they're not necessarily better. They don't really look distinguished. How do I do that? And when I figured out the way they appear visually has a lot to do with that. That's when I was like, it was like my eyes lit up and I was like, this new thing that no one told me, I kind of discovered it on my own. And so when I started to learn these things, it was like, wow, I bet this guy doesn't know. My friend didn't know. Yeah. All the guys that I speak to when I coach them, they don't really know. But when I teach them, it's like, no, you're in control of your sharpness. You can make yourself sharper than you are. You can do that. It's not, I wasn't born this way. I learned. And it's something that there's not too many books about this, right? There's not too many videos about this. There's not too many movies about it. There's not too many talk shows or anything about it. So a lot of guys don't really see how important it is. And when they do see it, it's coming from a person that may not be as masculine as we want them to be, right? They may not be as someone that we inspire to be. It may not be someone who's impressive, or it may come off as fashion. And most guys, we don't care about fashion, but we do care about being powerful and influential and having respect and being attractive, right? And being and leading our family. We care about those things. Yeah. So I connect our appearance to those things we do care about, because most guys don't really care about fashion and style, but our fashion and style affects the things we do care about, like our money and our career status. So that's why when I learned these things, I was like, I have to share it to the world, because it changed my life completely.
I agree. You are an insightful gentleman. All right, I think, actually, I'm going to have to go, so I think we need to wrap it up here. Tyron, this has been fun, man. I think it'd be kind of cool to have you back, and maybe we do a conversation that's just like more way out of left field. We'll just go straight to the law of attraction stuff and how.
And also about New York. I really want to talk about New York. I miss New York City so much, honestly. And you were there. Where are you parked?
Yeah. I born and raised in New York. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn now. I love New York. And I think that, when next time I come on, I want to share some stories about some of my stories about how life has been different for me. And then also some of my clients, how life has been different for them. Like, just the things that we don't even think about is going to change for us when we start to be sharper. I think that guys need to hear these stories, and about your everyday life becomes different.
Yep. All right. Well, let's give everybody out there an opportunity to get in touch with you to get more into what you're doing if they want to. So how do they find you?
So you guys can find me. I'm just updating my site. By the time you guys hear this, it'll be updated. My site is the Well Dressed Academy. So it's just Well Dressed Academy, WELLDRESSEDACADEMY.com. And there you'll see my site. You'll see I have some trainings there. I like to give away, start guys off with some free trainings. They can also find me on Facebook. I'm pretty active there. Tyron Cutner. You can find me. You can message me. I also have the Well Dressed Academy Facebook group. You can join that. It's free to join. I want guys to find me because I just want to introduce this idea in their heads. You can make improvements without purchasing anything, but at least see how important your appearance is in your life. So find me, reach out to me, message me, email me, and I'll help you guys out any way I can.
Cool. Well, you're changing the world, man. Honestly. So
I hope so.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Gabi, want to say
Absolutely.
anything?
Thank you. I will
taking
definitely
my life in my hands by asking you. I know that, but
I will check. I'll check. I'll check that out. I'm also interested in the videos. I guess you have training videos, right, on your website there.
Yes.
So you don't have to be local. You're accessible to anyone.
Yep.
Anywhere. So
yes.
Great.
Cool. All right. On that note, let's say goodnight. Thank you to everybody who's watching or listening, and be sure to rate and review and subscribe and send big checks and whatever. So thanks for being here. Ciao.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right, and we are done.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right. Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.